I'm so thankful that you were able to make some time to join us this evening. And as you probably just heard, we will be recording this session this evening so that we're able to share with other students and families who were not able to be in attendance tonight. Just a few housekeeping things. This evening, if you have questions, it's our hope that we will make this experience as informal as possible. So if there are questions that you have, please feel free to utilize the chat and submit any questions that you may have there, or raise your hand. And what we'll do as we're going through the presentation this evening is try to be as responsive as possible by potentially stopping and addressing the question, or addressing the question at the end, as we'll have time dedicated to ask any questions that may come up. And the great thing about this is that if for some reason you leave the session and then later on this evening or sometime tomorrow, there's some questions that come to your mind, we'll make sure that we share our contact information with you so that you're able to contact us directly regarding any questions that you may have. So thank you again for being here. My name is Aston Osai. I'm the superintendent here in St. Louis Park Public Schools, and I'm honored to be a part of a team who has spent the past several months in collaboration and working with the Minnesota Department of Education to receive our online provider status. And while we have not crossed the finish line yet, we are nearing the finish line and are really excited about the programming that we'll be able to offer students and families in St. Louis Park Public Schools. So to get started, what I would like to first do is just introduce the leadership for Park Virtual. And depending on how long you've been around St. Louis Park Public Schools, these are three familiar faces who have played a really huge role in helping our organization become the organization that it is today. So I'll allow each of them to just say a few words as a way of a welcome and greeting. But the way that we will structure this is that we will have a principal of Park Virtual, and she actually will wear two hats next school year. She'll serve as the principal of Park Virtual, and she will continue to serve as the assistant principal at Aquila Elementary School, and that's Olivia Tolzien, and she'll share a little bit more about herself shortly. And then also Angela Franzen, who has been a digital learning leader for us here in St. Louis Park, and during her time here certainly has worked with staff K-12, but has really found a niche and a level of expertise in supporting secondary educators enhance their facilitation of learning with the use of digital tools. So we're excited that she'll be supporting us in our leadership of this program this school year as well. And then last but certainly not least, Nathan Tangen, who's serving as a digital learning coordinator in the district. And similar to Angela, they're a dynamic team that have truly supported our educators become more proficient with the use of digital technology, and he'll be supporting our K-5 Park Virtual teachers. And Nathan serves also as the Park Association of Teachers president as well. So I think what I'll do at this time is I'll ask in that order for them just to say a few words as a way of welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I am Olivia Tolzien, and thank you, Superintendent Osai. One of the things that I just want to say is that I'm really excited about this opportunity for our students as just another pathway to a fabulous education here for St. Louis Park Public Schools. The Virtual Academy, I think, is going to be a great opportunity for us to partner with families in our community to start something new and to meet all of our families' needs here in St. Louis Park and beyond in Minnesota.
Thanks, Olivia. I'm Angela Franzen. Again, so thankful for this opportunity as well. I think not just in this last couple of years, but for several years now, we've seen such an opportunity to relate to children and to kids in a community in a way with virtual learning that we have not been able to do before. So I really do believe that there are unique ways and very strong and thoughtful ways that we can have creators and innovators in our schools showing up in the online pathway as well as connecting with folks in person. So it's really exciting just to see how all these things connect and grow together.
All right, good evening and welcome. My name is Nathan Tangen. Much like my wonderful colleague said before, I'm uber excited as during some of the forced learning with distance learning during COVID, we saw some brilliance come out in our students that wasn't happening in our brick and mortar buildings. And I look forward to that opportunity to build upon that and just try to foster a new relationship, but also stay connected within the St. Louis Park school system. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Olivia, Angela, and Nathan. We truly are excited that you were willing to invest in our school community in this way, and certainly are looking forward to your leadership of this program. And while as we go through this presentation tonight, certainly we will not read every single word on the slide to you. And if there's any information that we may go through quickly that you're interested in going back and looking at, all of this information, including the recorded presentation, will be on our district website. So don't worry if you miss anything tonight, or if a slide is advanced before you have had a chance to read through everything. But really what we wanted to convey and want to make sure that everyone understands is that although this will be a multiple pathway of learning for students in St. Louis Park Public Schools, what will remain true is that our mission and core value will still be the same. Sometimes what we've learned in our experience of developing this program, that sometimes virtual or online schools take on a life of their own, and sometimes they're disconnected from the overall mission and vision of a particular district or organization. And we really wanted to ensure that regardless of if our students are in a brick and mortar setting, as Nathan described previously, or if they're learning with us virtually, that the same mission and core value is foundational to their experience. Next, Olivia will talk a little bit about the programming and really what we're trying to ensure is accomplished with this program.
So just like Superintendent Osai just stated, that we are living our vision, we're living our mission and our core values. So as we think about Park Virtual moving forward, we are utilizing our St. Louis Park staff who has been trained in racial equity, who are really thinking about critical consciousness, thinking about academic success. And so we think about our St. Louis Park staff, and those are the staff that are going to be used in Park Virtual or be employed in Park Virtual. It is standard based. So we'll be utilizing the Minnesota State standards in everything that we do. And then really thinking about that international framework as a way to keep that critical consciousness going forward. Student centered. So if our students receive ML services, 504 services, an IEP, we will work with the family to make sure that all of our students are receiving all the services that they deserve. Families as partners, as we really think about building this Park Virtual and the program, your voice as families are extremely important because this is new, right? It's new for everybody. And as a partner in this, we need to hear your perspective. And then an opportunity for community. We're still part of the St. Louis Park community. So extracurricular activities, as we think about community events, you're part of that as well as a St. Louis Park school member.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that, Olivia. And what I really appreciated, or what stood out to me as you were providing a high-level overview of how we've worked to develop this program, is this idea of partnership. So as you think about what you can expect as a parent, a guardian, family member, or even as a student, we're going to really focus in on establishing really strong relationships with students and families. And part of establishing those strong relationships with students and families is ensuring that we are providing timely and effective communication regarding every student's progress. Some of these other things that you're seeing in front of you, as we experience, emergency learning, distance learning, a lot of these things around the use of Schoology and Seesaw will continue to utilize those learning management platforms to help facilitate learning and provide information for students and families. As we've talked about, as it relates to our mission, we're going to have a foundation of culturally relevant learning. And as Olivia stated, we're going to ensure that our programming is standards-based and rigorous for every student to really achieve their brilliance here in our virtual program. So what we'll do next is just really kind of look at the program from a K-5 lens, from a 6-8 lens, and from a 9-12 lens. And in each area, what we'll do is spend a little bit of time looking at a sample schedule of what your child's day may look like in these programs. And why I'm using the language of may look like is because we're in the final stages, but we've not received final approval yet. So although we feel really confident about what we've developed, that it will receive approval, I just want to be clear that we're still continuing to work through that process. But as we think about the K-5 program and what that will look like from a daily work standpoint, you know, there'll be, and you'll see shortly in the schedule, there'll be at least every single day 30 to 45 minutes of literacy development reading. And I would suggest that some days there'll be even more time than that. Some of that will be facilitated and collaborative in small groups. Some of that may be individual as well. And at the elementary level in the K-5 programming, this is the way we are designing this, is that this will be where we have the largest blocks or chunks of live instruction for our students every single day. Now, as we progress through each grade span, what you'll see is that there'll be more independent learning opportunities as we get, you know, 9th through 12th grade, but early on, we're really wanting to focus on making sure that we're providing opportunities for live instruction, engaging with an adult. And it's going to be really important. And as we talked about a couple of slides ago, the importance of relationship. One of the things that we've learned from other school districts that have been running online or virtual programs as around relationship is the importance of cameras being on. So one of the expectations, one of the relationship agreements that we'll make as a part of this program is that as we're in live engagement, live instruction, learning opportunities, that we have those cameras on as a form of mutual respect and as a form of connection. So that'll be something that we'll continue to talk about and nurture as a part of this program. So I was sharing a little bit about, you know, the daily schedule, and what this does is just kind of provides you with the bird's eye view of what a day in the life of a K-5 student will look like in Park Virtual. So what you'll see is that every morning we'll start off with the morning meeting, and that we believe that is so important from a relationship standpoint and really making sure that students are getting off on the right foot, but additionally daily working to build connection with their classmates. We'll have a reading block that will move into a small group literacy development block, which, you know, from there would move into some sort of independent learning reinforcement, and every day that might look a little bit different. We believe that it'll really depend on, you know, what's happening during that period of time for learners. And then we'll move into math. That'll be the final learning block in the morning, and then students would daily receive a 30-minute lunch. From there, we'll move into science and social studies, and what you'll see there is right now, the way we're developing this is that, you know, 3 out of the 5 days a week, that learning block would be live, and the other 2 days a week that would be an asynchronous or maybe some sort of independent or group learning opportunity. Currently, all of our elementary students are experiencing talent development, and we'll continue to do that virtually as well. And then the two end of day blocks will be another independent learning reinforcement opportunity. And what we're trying to do there is really, to the best of our ability, is get students out from in front of their screens and doing other activities, either with text, hard copy, or what it may be, recognizing that because there's so much live instruction connected to the proposed elementary sample schedule, that we wanted to be intentional about screen breaks. And then the final afternoon block would be an opportunity for students to engage in physical education, language development of some sort, or art, or it would just be a number of different, hopefully elective types of options that we could provide students. So I'm going to pause there and see if members of the team would like to add anything, or if there are any questions so far based on what we've shared.
I would just like to add, as we think about that small group time or independent time, that we're really focused on that continuum of learning for our students. And so you'll see, this is that sample schedule right now, but you will see a lot of times in which you'll have small group or independent instruction for your children, so that we can really move your child along that continuum of learning at the pace in which they can grow along the way. So our teachers are going to be really focused on that continuum, and moving students along that continuum at their pace in a small group or independent way.
Thank you for that addition, Olivia. Okay, well, if there aren't any questions at this time, we'll keep moving forward, and we'll spend a little bit of time now looking at what the 6-8 grade span will look like. And as I was mentioning previously, as it relates to elementary, which is where we have the largest amount of live instruction opportunities, that with the 6-8 grade span, certainly we would continue to offer opportunities for live instruction on a daily basis. Now, what you'll start to see is more asynchronous, independent learning types of opportunities for our middle level learners. And a lot of that will be connected to different interactive online curriculum. But there's still going to be a nice balance of live and asynchronous learning opportunities. And similar to what we are requesting from an elementary standpoint, we'll be requesting that students have their cameras on and that they're fully engaged, recognizing that that is a part of the relationship process. And as I mentioned previously, the virtual and online schools that have had the most success that we're learning about right now have been those that have really prioritized having those relationships with students and families. So as we think about or look at what a potential sample schedule will look like during Park Virtual, is what you'll see is that every student will have access to the core content areas. For the purpose of Park Virtual, we're going to be offering one language opportunity, and that's Spanish. I know in our brick and mortar site, there are multiple languages at the middle level that students can choose from. And then the other major difference is that there won't be the same number of elective options that students are able to choose from now in person, but we still felt it was important to give students access to music and art. So what we've designed is that at each grade level, that elective would look different. And again, I think it's important to note that this is currently a sample schedule and that we're still in the process of receiving final approval from the Minnesota Department of Education. Although we feel very confident about the development and where we currently are in the process, there could be some small tweaks to this, which is why we're really emphasizing the sample schedule piece here. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's anything that members of the team would like to add to the 6-8 program. And before I move to the 9-12 portion of this program, there will continue to be an emphasis on communication, as we've talked about throughout this presentation, and that'll look like scheduled academic check-ins. So that may be just with the student. Those will certainly be with student and parent, and the frequency of it will be more than what you currently experience with our current conference model, because we know that continual feedback loop, especially because this is new, from the student and parent about the experience and how the learning is going to be very important for us as we continue to build this out. So as we think about the 9-12 program, again, there will be opportunities for both live and asynchronous learning. There will be a greater span, or probably the most opportunities in this program, the 9-12 portion of it, for self-paced learning. And the piece that we're really excited about, and we'll take a look at this in the in the sample schedule, is the opportunities that we're looking to create for students from a concurrent enrollment standpoint. So as we think about our in-person learning, or brick and mortar learning, what we've really tried to move to as we think about allowing students to access their brilliance is trying to get every student before they graduate high school to try at least one concurrent enrollment, PSEO, AP, or IB class, because oftentimes students are fearful of or don't choose to pursue post-secondary options just because they don't believe that they can do it. And we hold a belief that if we can provide students these options earlier, that it'll help build their confidence in the fact that they certainly are capable, and encourage them to pursue a post-secondary experience. So in looking at the sample schedule, and this is similar to the middle school, but slightly different, is that there aren't going to be as many elective options for students through Part Virtual at this time. But the difference between middle and high school is that we're in the middle school, the elective choices are prescribed for students. Here at the high school, students will get to choose. They'll have choice elective options for each day, right? So they'll have at least one choice elective option that they would generally have for a semester. It would be a semester-long course. So you'll see that certainly the core content areas are there. We're offering the sciences and math at the appropriate grade levels. And 12th grade year, you'll see essentially, if you're a Part Virtual student, you potentially would be doing primarily, half of your schedule, or close to half of your schedule, in some sort of concurrent enrollment, PSEO, AP, or IB course. And I think a benefit to students and families is that would provide opportunity for credit accumulation, and hopefully save students and families money on the back end if they pursued some sort of post-secondary education. But I think a key takeaway here is that students will still be able, with this current sample schedule and the way that we are facilitating this program, have access to all of the current athletics, activities, co and extracurricular offerings that we have here at the high school. So I'm going to stop there again and see if there's anything I've missed that team members may want to add at this time, or if there's questions that you may have about anything that we've shared so far.
Superintendent Osai, I have a question that came through in the chat. So this was about grades 6 through 8, but I guess will also apply for 9 to 12. And the question is, will the 6-8 classes be held during typical school day times?
Yeah, great question.
4-ish.
Yeah. And that is Yes, so that's good feedback. So maybe what we'll do if we do this presentation again, or as we revise it and maybe put it back and post it to the website, is we can certainly put some times like we did for the elementary, which was probably helpful. But yes, because there will be live or what some is described as like synchronous learning opportunities, we would want the school day to follow what our current in-person school day would look like. So thank you for that question. And what you'll see here, and maybe what we can do, sorry about that, is that we've listed the periods here. So maybe what we'll do is for the middle school is list periods and make a notation that we would follow the same schedule as students in person at the middle and high school. Excellent. So the last thing that, prior to engaging in any additional questions that you all have, that we really have prepared for you this evening, was just to make you aware of our enrollment interest form that right now. And the reason that is currently still in enrollment interest phase is because until we receive the final approval or go ahead from the Minnesota Department of Education to actually start enrolling families, we're really interested in just getting a sense of how many students and families would like to participate in this program so that we can begin the phase of figuring out our staffing levels. So if you're interested and already haven't done so, and all of this information can be found on our district website at www.slpschools.org. And you'll be able to navigate to this actual Park virtual page, but we would really encourage you to complete the interest form. And what we'll be doing with families that have completed that interest form is to can keep them up to date on the status of the program and where we are. And as you may know, this year we have partnered with Eden Prairie Public Schools. And I think at our highest point this school year had close to 130 or so kids enrolled in EP Online from St. Louis Park Public Schools. And that data was helpful for us to tell us that there was an interest here in our community, and that this is something that we should pursue further, which is why we're at the point where we are today. So what we would like to do now is just open it up to anybody on the call who may have questions about anything that was presented this evening, or if you were hoping to hear about a particular aspect that wasn't covered tonight, certainly feel free to ask that question now as well.
I had a question about the specialists that will be happening for the K through 5. It sounded like there was some reference to a few different options, one of them including art. Is art something that would be a part of it? It hasn't been a part of bricks and mortar school.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. So what we've done with the brick and mortar school, the in-person school as well, we've had art, and it's not been an elective or a specialist class. We've had community experts come in and teach different art lessons, and what the plan would be to continue to offer that type of experience. What we have to still work through from a programmatic standpoint is like, what will that look like? What type of art will it be? How could the devices that we have be utilized to engage in some sort of visual art form, recognizing that every student in their home may not have access to the same supplies and materials. So we would have to figure some of those details out. But certainly right now, we would be looking at a similar model, but just virtually, to give students access to some sort of art, but facilitated by a community expert like we currently do in our in-person learning environments.
The EPO art programming has been strong, I would say. So if it's something that they've been good with flexing with what students have, but it's been something that my daughter, who's been in EPO this year, has really enjoyed. So
Okay,
it might be something to look into for ideas.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you
That's
for that.
excellent feedback.
The next question I just saw was about field trips and social opportunities. And that is one thing that we have discussed thoroughly, is just that's something we want to make sure that we have for students. Is just that opportunity to be able to gather as a community, as a virtual community, gather together face to face and do some of field trips and some time together to build community and to do some learning outside of the home and outside together.
Right, we've seen some really great examples lately too of multi-age group student groups partnering with local nonprofits and creating some really great opportunities to just do some things in the community that are for both gain of students and gain of the community around us. So there's some really unique opportunities to do things across grade levels that would be challenging in the brick and mortar. So there's a lot of opportunity.
And just to go back to the arts, I know that we talked about visual arts, but one thing that we did not mention in the elementary is that continued opportunity for orchestra and band as well. We did put that on the slide, but we didn't mention that. So just wanted to name that.
Would there be music as well for the children who weren't eligible for a more formal group program?
Yes,
Okay.
music will be a special class. Yes.
Okay. Oh, one more question that I actually had, if there's a moment, was just about basically how early on in each week or month would the content be posted. That was one piece that's been appealing about the EPO experience that we've had, is that we usually have about a week's work ahead of us, so that if there are times when families need to flex, there's some ability to move forward. If you're finding that you understand that concept and you have some extra time that day, you might be able to work on the next day's work too, that kind of thing. That I think at the K through 5 right now, it's typically a week in advance that we're able to see what's going on.
So that hasn't been determined yet, but what I'm hearing you say is that currently EPO is providing at least a week in advance, and for your family that has worked out really well. So that's certainly something that we can take into consideration as we're developing that portion of the program.
Yes, it's worked well for this grade. I know that for the older grades, I think it comes out further in advance.
Excellent. Just scanning the
Yep.
chat. Oh, go ahead.
Did you want me to read them
Yeah,
off?
yeah, go ahead.
Great. So next question is around 504. So when could one expect to hear from someone about continuing online next year with accommodations if a student has a 504?
Yeah, so our program is open to any student with the 504 IEP, multilingual learners. So I'm trying to think about, I want to respond to this appropriately about like when you would hear. As we continue to move through this process, what we're doing is collecting information now from interested families. And what our plan will be is, as soon as we get permission from the Minnesota Department of Education to start actually enrolling students, I would believe that would be the next phase, or the next time you would hear from us about continuing online next year, at least if you wanted to do that in St. Louis Park, because I'm assuming that you must currently already be online, either in EPO or in another online provider.
Right. Following up to the next.
And
Or did you want to see if they were already enrolled? Or do you
well,
want
that certainly, Devonna, if you would like to just add that to the chat, or whatever is easiest for you, or if you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because my daughter, she's an EP online currently. She had started off the year going in person, but unfortunately we had to transition her to online. Her doctor advised us to do that. because she's been kind of struggling. She's still struggling even at EP online, especially trying to adjust the medication and keep up with homework. So it looks like probably going into next year, we're probably still going to need some accommodations. And it's possible even, you know, while going to school next fall, she might need accommodations, maybe like mid, you know, semester, trimester, whatever. So yeah, I was just wondering because it's been kind of confusing because I know EP Online sent us things to go and register, and then we, you know, we've gotten things from Sales Park to register her,
Yeah.
and then now I hear about virtual. So you
Yeah,
know, I
thank
want
you.
to make sure
Yeah,
I'm doing everything I need to do on my end that
yeah.
so she gets everything she needs next year.
I appreciate you taking some time to clarify your question. And so now it would, so if you wanted her to remain in EP Online, I believe you're already enrolled there. So if they're telling you to fully enroll, I mean, because currently I think you're enrolled in St. Louis Park, but we have a shared time agreement. So you would probably unenroll in St. Louis Park and then fully enroll in EP Online. But if you were interested in Park Virtual, coming back to your home district and utilizing our online option, you would you know, fully enroll here in St. Louis Park, which
Okay.
you are partially up, and then you would have to be enrolled in SLP fully, and then we could get you going in Park Virtual once we.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, the only counselor that I've been in contact with has been at the middle school. So, and I know she was supposed to see like an online counselor, but you know, I know staffing issues and things can be an issue. So some of the things that we were planning to have for her haven't actually come to, you know, come to be. So, yeah, I just need to know that I'm, you know, that everything I need to do on my end is being done for next year, and just kind of, you know, what I should look out for and expect.
Yeah, and I know I know we've been in contact in the past as well. So certainly, please
Yeah.
feel free to email, and I'll be of assistance in any way that I can with the process.
Okay, I appreciate that. But were you saying like you guys will have more like concrete information, maybe like a month or so from now? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I hope at the latest. You know, we're in the final stages, so my hope would be, you know, in at least a month from now, we'll have the green light, and we'll be able to communicate with families that expressed interest to complete the enrollment process.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I see a question in the chat about how does distance learning differ from Park Virtual for elementary schedule? And then no flexibility. Are there any members of the team that would like to respond to that question? And maybe there's some clarification needed to respond.
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is distance learning was a response to COVID and how we operated. So we had the best of intentions with offering distance learning. However, we didn't have a chance to really rally around and support staff in a way that can really benefit and enhance the brilliance of our learners. So I can tell you where Park Virtual differs already is the intentionality of what we want to see in staff, how we want to build relationships in students, and how we want to connect kids to learning in a virtual space that enhances their learning. And I guess as far with regard to that, the no flexibility, I would need to learn a little bit more about what we're asking in that portion of the question.
So if B. Franklin, if you're still on, if you would like to provide any clarification, that would be great. And we can come back at a later time if you need more information regarding the no flexibility piece. And I see another question about a Spanish immersion being considered for 23-24. I would say certainly we've discussed it as a team and would be open to the possibility of it if demand and interest from an enrollment standpoint called for it. It certainly would be something that we would be open to. And because we are going through the process this year, it wouldn't take as much to get a Spanish immersion program up and running, because we would just combine it with our current K-12 programming. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Flower, that may be all of the questions in the chat. Were there any that I missed?
Yeah, quick question to clarify. Students have to be enrolled in SLP schools in order to qualify for Park Virtual, correct?
Yes.
Can I just ask families that are on here a question? I'd like to know, because we are partnering with you and we are building this still, there are a few things that we're still considering. What's most important to you as you are looking at virtual schools as an opportunity for your child?
For us, I would say some of the things that have been most important and that have been really positive in this past year have been having a lot of clear communication with families and truly partnering with a parent, especially in that elementary age. We've had a schedule that we know we can go to, and so we're able to help guide our child as to where she needs to be. If there's anything that she's confused about, we have the links and all the information, so it isn't kind of, very often during a DLA experience, it was a lot, it was off the schedules that were communicated, and it was often confusing as to what was being, if we were expected to be asynchronous, synchronous, what was going on. To have that weekly schedule that we can look to, and we can jump in and connect into the information that's been laid out in a really consistent manner, has helped a lot with our ability to support her. Also, I would say just being able to have some flexibility of being able to work independently. Some of the times when the classes may meet as a group, there's the opportunity for students to work independently and then check in with their teacher if that work was completed as needed. So it wasn't always needed to be right in front of the screen if you were able to do work independently as well.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing everything that you said, which was having a week schedule ahead of time, at least, so it's very clear, so you know when to hop on, when to not hop off. That opportunity for flexibility, and that opportunity for independent work.
Yes, all of those things. And her teacher also has been great about sending like a weekly email that gave us an idea of what was going on, if they were going to be trying a new program, if there was something else that was going to be utilized as even something that's a fun thing that's going on, whatever it might be. That constant line of communication was extremely helpful in being able to be an active participant in her education and make sure that we were not letting things fall through the cracks, because honestly, with even as responsible as she is, it's really easy to have something just be forgotten, and to be able to be trained as a parent as well, where you need to look to make sure that assignments, even though they were completed, were submitted, and all those kinds of pieces. Being a real partner with it has been a huge help.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your perspective. Were there other perspectives in the chat that maybe I missed because I was listening? Okay, I'll go back. Thank you. And if anyone else wants to share their voice, I'd love to hear it.
And thank you for that question. And we'll save the chat so that as a team, we'll come back later and review all of the different ideas that were shared about what families on the call this evening would love to see or hope for in this program. So thank you for that question, Olivia. Excellent. Well, we're at the end of what we prepared this evening for the informational session, and just want to extend a great deal of appreciation to each of you for spending time this evening with us and for engaging in dialogue and asking questions and learning more about Park Virtual. And if you haven't, I just want to remind you again to go to our website at www.slpschools.org and fill out the interest form for Park Virtual, and that will be a way in which we'll be able to gather information to directly connect with families as we continue to inch closer and closer to receiving final approval for the program. So thank you again for being here this evening, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Take care.